Welcome to another episode of the I Am Jen Wilson, the Healing Rebel podcast. I am so excited today to have Sharon from Joyworks with me. We have connected through, guess where, the GGC, the Glasgow Girls Club Business Networking, where lots of my guests come from. And I just read a bit of Sharon's story and was like, I would love to hear more and have a chat with you on the podcast, and for you to share your story and your journey with others to help inspire them on their healing journeys themselves. So welcome to the podcast, Sharon.
Thanks so much, Jen. You are the Healing Rebel, and it's a pleasure and a privilege to be here and be on the show and get the wee blather beforehand and hear all about your healing journey is just really inspiring. So yeah, thanks so much.
My pleasure. So why don't you do a proper introduction to yourself and whatever parts of your story. We said this before, we're going to be tripping over our words today.
No, it's one of those days. Well, we'll just be thankful for it all. Like it's Thanksgiving Day today, right? And I was just hearing that one in six people in Britain celebrate Thanksgiving. 1 in 6 in Britain celebrate Thanksgiving. And I was thinking, well, I love that stat. That's an amazing stat. Any day where we focus on and feeling appreciative and thankful is a really, really good one, right? So I'll be thankful for the brain fog that happens while I'm chatting.
Thankful for real life, and I don't ever. This is all as you find me.
Exactly.
So on you go. Share as much as
So yeah, I'm Sharon Miller, and I'm founder of Joyworks, and I started Joyworks 15 years ago. My background is in theatre and drama and performance. I worked with organisations like the National Theatre Scotland, Scottish Youth Theatre, Scottish Opera, and in my I was a primary school teacher actually. That was my first wee journey, and then my professional and personal worlds kind of merged when I was working a lot in prisons with segregated prisoners, lifers, and women in suicide watch, and devising programs. And it was challenging stuff, but I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it more than having to put guys and dolls on the stage. You know, it kind of suited where I was going in my personal life, my personal journey, and these senior citizens asked me to come back because they'd got some funding, and asked what they wanted. And at that time I was doing a lot of work in prisons and stuff, like rewarding, challenging. And I said, what do you want? And they said, we just need a laugh. And I thought, that's what I need. I really, really need a good laugh, because my grandpa had just died. And my grandpa was, he brought me up, and he was the love of my life, and I was grieving. But that way you don't know you're grieving. You're grieving. You don't know how hard that way you don't know how unhappy you are until you're in a really happy situation, and you go, oh my God, my life's a wee bit miserable at the moment. And that's exactly what happened. I took up my wee box of tricks to these senior citizens in Stirling. And when I got into the space, it was a wee church hall. When I got into space with my box of tricks, they were all around this one wee lady whose husband had just died. And I nearly went back and I thought, what can I do, But we had the time of our life. I was high as a kite. They were high as a kite. And when I was driving home in my wee Nissan Micra back to Glasgow, I heard someone talk about laughter therapy. And I thought, God, that's just what I've done. And I absolutely loved it. And Joyworks was born. I started workshops in Ruskin Lane in Glasgow. And, the people that I met had in my previous careers as a drama worker, as a theatre director, then they got me in to do Joyworks stuff. So very quickly I had Coca-Cola on my website, I had large corporates, and I didn't expect it to be the way it was, but there was nothing like that happening in Scotland. Spearheaded the laughter therapy movement in Scotland. There was no businesses like that, and so it was a really, really, really exciting time. And here is the thing. I was still really struggling. I was still really, really struggling. I really was. I was still struggling. And it was such a contrast, creating these amazing, unforgettable events and workshops and and getting the most amazing feedback back from people saying that I'd changed their lives and stuff. And I'm still back to me dealing with the past and dealing with my childhood. And actually, I can honestly say that doing this sort of work for the last 15 years has been a major part of my healing. It's been a major part of my healing. You know, Abraham, no, there you are. I was going to say Abraham Lincoln says this, but the painful. Albert Einstein says that one of the most important decisions that we can make is that the universe is a friendly place. That the universe is a friendly place. That's one of the most important decisions we can make for ourselves. And I think that doing the work that I do has given me that. It's given me that, you know, seeing people in a room all, thinking that they're separate from everybody else, judgmental, looking around the room, thinking that they're separate. And then by the end of the workshop, you know, just the tears and the laughter and the joy. And as a lovely Thomas Merton says, if only we could look into each other's eyes and see each other as we really are, we would fall down on our knees weeping. And really, the Joyworks events, that's what they're about, right? They're about that. They're about, like, we're not separate. We're here. We're all in this together. And even although it's laughter therapy, it's that we are where we are, and that's okay. And it gets to be okay where we are, because unless we accept where we are, we can't move up that joy scale, you know? We have to be able to tell it how it really is at the beginning and then move on for there, right? And yeah, so that's kind of where it all started. And you know, I've been all over the world with Joyworks. It's incredible. I've kicked off conferences in Vienna. I've I've done events in India. I've worked in Australia. All of that was really exciting. But yeah, it was exciting, and it was also me looking to heal myself, you know, because in India, I was in the ashram. I lived in the ashram, Sadhguru's ashram in India, and taught drama at the Isha Foundation there, and trained the staff there at the ashram in using drama as a creative tool and using laughter as a creative tool. And then and in Australia, I actually went to live there and worked in the Erasmus school, and it didn't work out, and I came back. And so it's taken me all over the world, and it's been a really, really, really beautiful journey. I've met incredible people, and it's like people say it's life changing, and for me, it's taught me to really, really focus on my own joy because we teach what we need to learn, right? We teach that we need to learn. Like you go to Middle East countries, and they say peace be with you, because that's the most important thing to them, peace. And for me, joy was the thing that I was void of, absolutely void of. And working in the creative arts and the theatre arts, you get away with it. We are all very, very, it's not like, maybe that's the wrong way to say it. It's not that you get away with it, but what is the best way to say that, Jen? You're kind of like your creativity is a bandage, or no, not a bandage, it's a way to express, whatever's going on inside it. I could never have done the 9 to 5. I did the 9 to 5 as the education officer for Borderline Theatre Company and a Creative Scotland and stuff, but the freelance lifestyle suits me much better, and running my own business suits me much better, because then I get to be kind of creative and holistic, and as we were talking about before, the podcast started, get to really look after ourselves, get to really, really take care of ourselves in the process as well, right?
I think in what is coming to mind in that like performance thing, there's a performance of how you can show up. So it can be easy to help you find a way to process things, but I imagine it's also a really easy way to be able to hide a lot of things and just like lay it down because you know how to perform.
Yes.
Over the other. So like you can
Yeah.
just go on and pretend everything's okay, but
Yeah.
you have to also be aware that underneath things are not okay and that you want to work them out. Otherwise, it just gets buried down, buried down.
That's right, that's right. And I think a lot of the process-based projects, the wellness projects that I do for charities, using creative arts, laughter therapy, meditation, mindfulness and stuff like that, they're the ones that always have, they always, I enjoyed the big standing on stage and kicking off conferences, and I still enjoy that. It still gives me a real buzz. But I also, after what happened to me, in 2020, I got COVID and nearly died, and was, on the couch, not able to speak or walk for a long time. For about a year and a half, wasn't able to get around the block. Really, the getting around the block was the biggest thing. And that made me go much deeper into, okay, because the head that I had at that time was, you're a piece of shit. And when you're, as you say, when you're running around and I'm really busy, and I traveled like 5 out of 7 continents across. Stop. You want to stop the podcast? Sorry, Jen. Just, I don't know whether you heard that. It was a door going. I'm just going to put the privacy
Recording.
I don't know where we cut off. Yeah, that made me go deeper, because at that time I had met my boyfriend. We traveled 5 out of 7 continents in the 1 year. I was really, my business was going through the roof. I was down delivering events at the Cabinet Office in London. It really was amazing. However, getting the illness made me really listen to that voice, and my voice, even although I was doing all this incredible stuff, it was still saying, you're a piece of shit. You're a piece of shit. That's what I heard loud and clear. Because when your body is saying no like that, and you can't distract yourself really, because I wasn't able to really talk, wasn't able to walk, then you really have to listen. And some really, even although you think the healing work, like you were saying, you're on the stage, you're performing, in between going back and forward to the ashram in India, I used to go and do 5 or 6 weeks at a time in December, deep yoga and meditation and whatever. And obviously an awful lot of therapy since my early 30s as well. You think, oh, right, that's the healing done. But then there's always more layers and 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 more layers. It's never done. It's never done. It's just moving closer to who you're supposed to be, right? You're just moving closer the whole time to who you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing, right? And I guess that's been the gift of COVID for me, because I'm now able to go deeper with all the things that get in the way of joy and sap our joy, and do that in a much deeper way in my creative coaching programs. Joyworks for self-compassion, and the Gupta app, for people who have got ME, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia. And then this coming up in January, it was funded by COVID Aid to do a Joyworks for Wellness package program with digital resources and live workshops, which begins January. And back to doing my face-to-face events as well, which I love. And like my friend and I, who's also in business, talk about this all the time. Like, do you need to decide what it is? Like in your business, you need to say, is that the one thing? Because I was thinking, it's like an ego thing. I just love standing on stage. I love whipping everybody up into a frenzy. I love just seeing everybody laughing and their eyes shining, and they're crying with laughter, and them all. I just love it. I love it. I get such a kick out of it. I get really such a kick out of just being able to make those transformations in such a short time. However, I also have the payback of that, of a couple of days, 2 or 3 days on the couch relaxing after that. And then I think to myself, is that the universe saying this isn't for you anymore? You just keep focused on your deep healing, your creative coaching packages, and you just keep focused on that. But no, I want to do both. And and I think both serve people enormously, and both serve me. And it's a wee kind of lesson lying on the couch to, right, okay, this is just because the spaces are getting less. It's getting less time. It used to be if I did a big event, Like I did a big event for Invensive there, developers and investors up at the Royal Botanics Gardens. And I thought that was going to be me. I was going to be a week or so. It was only 3 days on the couch, and then I was back up again. And so that's kind of where I am. Very, very honestly, that's where I am. I love what I do. However, there is a bit of payback, you know.
I think for me, it's understanding that and knowing what it is that you get physically, mentally, emotionally from doing the thing that has you on the couch and making friends with those two different parts.
Yes,
In the spiritual world, I don't know if you've come across this, there can be this real negativity towards ego, as though having an ego is a bad
yes,
thing. You need
yes,
to off the ego, but the ego is what drives you forward. If you don't
yes,
have that ego to be like, no, hang on a wee minute, I'm really good at what I do. I can share what I do. Let me get in front of people so I can demonstrate
yes.
this. And if you're not doing that, then you're sitting in your house going, I'm dissolving my ego, and you'll all have to just find me. Good luck.
No,
As much as
oh,
that might be.
yeah, no, I love that. And I love that you brought that up with the ego, because that actually was the conversation with the friend. Was like, right, that's all about me and what I need. But we, at the end of the day, are here to fill our own cups up with joy. Life is about being the most joyful human being we can possibly be to ourselves first and foremost, and then letting that slip over to everybody else. And that isn't about ego. That's about let me do what makes me really, really happy. And if it serves other people, in like that quote that I was sharing with you before we went live, like everything that happens to me is to serve me and the greater good, right? So it'd be different if if I was standing on the stage and, blaspheming everybody. standing in the stage and getting everybody feel really, really good about it. And I feel that that's what I was born to do, right? I was born to take people by the hand and help them see the gold and the diamond that they are, and remind them of the joy and the love that they are. They've just forgotten it. And actually, the name Sharon means the carrier of the dead in the Bible. It means the carrier of the dead. And when I first heard that, I thought, well, that is really depressing. But actually, when I think about it, that's what I do. Like, what I know what it feels like to be void of joy, to be so resentful and angry, and not have great relationships with family or friends, and to feel isolated, and that nobody really knows what's really, really going on. And through Joyworks and delivering Joyworks and becoming more open about what was really going on for me in my workshops and in my programs, that was a really, really healing thing, because keeping the mask on, as you say, it just creates more illness. It just creates more illness, right?
Yeah.
And carrier of the dead.
I love that. My name means white wave.
Oh, does that? I love it. I love it.
Wave.
I love it. And do you feel that relates to your life? Like,
I definitely feel
how
like
would
I'm
you?
a white term like a wave. I think of a white wave as being really like what's that word? What is that?
Tumultuous.
Yes.
Yes, yes. I'm proud of myself for getting that tumultuous wave,
Yeah,
ride the
that,
waves. Yeah,
I, a bit chaotic.
yes,
I can be in equal parts, like super soothing, super, but it's almost like that swan gliding, but underneath it's like this.
yes, yes,
That is very me.
yes, yes. Well, I think we can all relate to that. I'm sure everybody listening can relate to that. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'd like to kind of touch back on the process of grief, because this is something that's come up in conversations quite
Mm,
recently.
yeah,
Because grief is something that we are all going to experience, but it's
yes,
not something that people really talk about, and it's not something that any of us really know how to do. And it's only when you're in the depths of it, you're like, oh, I should really maybe learn about this. Because I'd said to you before when we were having our wee chat, in 2019, my gran died. and that triggered a massive flare for me. But that was the first time in my life that I had ever been present to experience grief. The first time I had experienced grief was when I was 10, when my aunt died, and didn't really know how to do with it, so buried it down deep,
Yes,
just
yes.
mode. Then when I was about 17 or 18, both my grandpas died within a couple of months of each other. And then my mum and dad were talking about this the other night, that the two of them died. My uncle had a heart attack and my mum's aunt died, all within in that 2 month window. Like there was just a whole, and at that time I started drinking when I was 14, and I think a lot of that was about I found a way to numb my emotions. I didn't have to. So when I went through that when I was 17, 18, I was just like, well. And then I was still, when my grandma died about 6 or 7 years later, I was still in that phase, but then I stopped drinking nearly 10 years ago. So when this came up this time, I was like, I don't know how to deal with this. And then I'm trying to read Elizabeth
Gilbert.
Yeah.
Gilbert.
Is it Kubler-Ross?
Oh, yes.
I'm reading her book, and there was another book on death and dying. And while I'm in the depths of this grief, trying to read all these books to understand the journey of grief, I'm like, you can't actually do that inside the pits of it. You just need to stop and find out how you can allow the emotions to come up. So I had like 30 years worth of grief to deal with. All like it was all coming up at the one time, and it was like, wow. And it was Brené Brown's work, her gift of vulnerability.
Brilliant, amazing, yes.
Talks about you can't experience joy if you don't know how to experience grief and pain.
Yes.
You can't pick and choose, so you can't just get to choose and go and have the happy ones.
No.
So all those years when I was numbing myself, I was never an up or down person. I thought that was just my nature. Just who I was somebody that didn't really experience emotion. So it was like, wow.
And what helped you the most out of all the work that you did? Like Brené Brown, the Elizabeth, the book, what was it? What's the thing that's helped you the most?
I did a lot of talk therapy, so I did a lot of like tapping. I've also done Cambo, which is
what's that? I've not heard of that.
It's a plant medicine. It is one that's legal because it's not psychoactive, but serum taken from a frog, and then you burn the surface layer of the skin to administer the medicine, and it goes into your body. It's really good for like delivering loads of peptides and supporting your immune function, but it's used in a spiritual practice for purging.
Wow. Oh, I've never heard of it.
Purge. So it's quite an intense experience, but I have done it 5 times.
Wow. Well, there's so much. I'm a big fan of Dr. Gabor Mate. I'm a really, really big fan of
a lot of work, and I've done a couple of psilocybin ceremonies as well. And the first psilocybin ceremony that I was meeting people that I didn't know personally, but people that I knew of, like they were maybe famous people or whoever who had taken their lives, and I was meeting them in this journey, and I was saying to them, why am I meeting you and I'm not meeting like my family members that have died? And they were like, because they are already in you. And I was like, that was just like, whoo,
mind blowing, right?
Interesting. It's like everything's all connected, so you don't need to go and find these people because they're already there. They're in your DNA, and I just thought that's incredible.
That's so wonderful. It's like Thich Nhat Hanh always says, you know, your grandfather, every step that you take is a step that all of the generations before you are taking. And that's such a comforting thing, isn't it? Such a comforting thing is that I'm not doing my life on my own. I'm actually there. They're walking the steps with me every bit of the way. And I'm healing with every wee action that I take and every course that I take, every drink, whatever drink it is, you know, that you choose to take. Healing drink that is that I'm healing this generational trauma as well. That's phenomenal. phenomenal. I really love what you said there at the beginning. You can't have one without the other. And it's one of my, I don't know whether you've heard Cal Gibriam is one of my favourite quotes. He wrote the Prophet, but he says, you know, when you are joyous, look deep into your heart, and you shall find it is only that which has given you sorrow that has given you joy. And when you're sorrowful, look again into your heart, and you'll see that the truth is you are weeping for that which has been your delight. You can't get one without the other. And I often say, you know, when people say, oh, you're really happy, you're really joyful, you've got such amazing energy and all of that, I say, I cried as much as I laugh now. You know, I cried as much as I laugh now. And I can cry at a drop of a hat. Like I glimpse my wee Robin out on the fence, you know. It can actually bring me to tears. It's just the most beautiful wee thing. I hear it singing in the top of the tree first thing in the morning, or catch some wee dewdrops on the, you know, and I think that is the healing journey. That's the hero's journey, isn't it? To be able to, Sadhguru always said that in the ashram. The person closest to God is the person that can laugh and cry in the same heartbeat. You know, you're just so tuned in to what's going on. And of course, obviously, that isn't about, you know, when you're really depressed and you're crying your eyes out. It's not like, oh, well, that's healthy. That's when you need the help. But and that's when you need to access the support. And I'm so glad that you said, you know, that you did all of that talking therapy, which I did too, you know. And there's a place. There's no one shoe size fits all. We've got to find what works for us, and you know, and be as private as we want to be about it. And usually it's afterwards, isn't it? It's afterwards then we're able to share the gifts of healing with everybody else. Yeah, there was a lot that happened to you. Yeah, and I love the story with Dr. Gabor Mate, that amazing story. You'll know it, where he was going to be running the big retreat for the myth of normal. Do you know that story? It's actually one of the visualizations that I did with my coaching group, was that going into a nice wee meditation. What is the words in the sky? What are the words in the sky? What's your message in the sky that you need to see? Because of course, Dr. Gabor Mate's message was be happy, and he's not a happy, joyful soul. And these shamans took him away in there and said, you know, we need to work with you. We need to work with you on your own, you know. And sometimes the greatest healers in the world are still healing, and this is true for me. I'm still healing myself. That's what makes us healing rebels, right, Jen? Is, you know, we're walking the walk, right?
Absolutely. And like you said earlier, the layers just keep coming, just as when you think, oh, right, that's me, I've done the work, and that's where the negative side of the ego can take over, where that is, I am healed, I am cured, I am done. And the universe is like, ha, 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 no, you're not.
Here's the next wee bit. Here's
You
the
have
next.
that so beautifully, you have something else.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all a gift, all of it, even although it's bloody painful and sore at the time, right?
I was
We
going to say
all
to
we live.
handle it with grace, but that would be very naive to think that it's handled with grace, because there are temper tantrums and floods
Yes.
of tears, and like the pain is real.
Yeah, and also like you were saying, it's the different stages of grief. Anger is a huge part of the grief process, and it's about allowing that grief, that anger to be there. You know, we're told as wee girls, don't be angry, be kind, be nice, whatever. Anger is a very, very healthy thing to be, right? Now, you can look at that two ways. You can look and go, well, 1 minute anger really depletes the immune system. And if you're healing from an illness, then you really don't want to get angry very often, right? So you can look at it from that wee part. And you can also look at it from the part of actually to get angry and say what is true for me and to say how I feel, then that is actually me healing and speaking my truth, which I've not been doing for a long time. And so it's a healthy thing to do. And I'm a big fan of Abraham Hicks, which I'm sure you are. Are you a big fan of Abraham Hicks or not, Jen?
I've tried a couple of times. I haven't tried recently, but there was a couple of times I tried and I was just like, I'm not hearing it.
No, not for you.
just have to hear it at the time that's right for you,
Yes,
and that tried to
100%.
but it's one of those things that I would never say absolutely not. It's like just not the right time. I'll circle back when the time
Yes,
is right.
beautiful.
Usually when I need to see it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So beautiful because there's as many teachers as there are for seekers, right? There's as many teachers in the world, spiritual teachers, as there are for seekers. But Abraham Hicks is very much about working up that joy scale and anger being part of it, which is a very, very healthy thing for us all to hear, you know. And at the same time, knowing when we do get angry that let's do it and be done with it, because it really does affect our affects our immune system big time, you know.
The suppressing the anger is as damaging, if not more damaging. Like if you push it
Yes,
down and just put a smiley face on and say everything's fine, that's potentially more damaging than being angry.
yes, the
And
resentment's a terrible, yeah,
yeah, it's like you need to let it come out, otherwise it'll sit there in your gut, it'll fester, and then it will come out in a rage.
or
Of
disease.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I love what Thich Nhat Hanh says to deal with anger. He talks about it as being a wee baby. He says, nurse your anger like you would a baby and swaddled up in beautiful blankets. So if you are angry with someone, you share that you're angry, and then you go away and you nurse that baby. And I love that. It's a self-soothing thing. It's about me. The anger is about me. It's
yeah.
not about anybody else. The anger is in me. Let me nurse this anger. This is stuff that's still to be healed. And then go back and say, look, I love you. Whoever it is, we're in this together. We're bigger than this. I was angry, and here's why. That's a much, much healthier way to do it. I love the way that he talks about anger, and it's a good process to go through. But for grief, for me, with the grief and thing, I think Ayurveda has been a big part of it, Jen.
Yeah.
Having an Ayurveda lifestyle, it's been amazing what has come up just by eating the right food.
Yes. Yeah.
It's amazing just by eating the right food, the grief and the trauma that's been released. I mean, that is incredible, right? And when I was ill with long COVID, I really went back to my ashram roots and dig big deep dive into Ayurveda and like I remember one time I was cooking. It was like big butter beans. I was doing this 7-day Agni Sera because one of the things that people don't know about the long COVID thing, it really, really affects a lot of, like, I had serious GI issues, which means I couldn't really leave the house because of the toilet issue, and my tummy was like, I was like, they called it the COVID baby. Like I looked as if I was 9 months pregnant, but I wasn't able to eat. And so despite everything else that was going on, this was a really challenging thing to deal with. And the Ayurveda specialist I was working with, I was on a program of food, and everything was to be organic, everything was to be fresh, it was all spices, blah blah blah. And it was this one dish, and I was able to cut, I was so weak, I wasn't able to stand up, and then I would sit at the table. I remember Buy Whole Foods online, all this shopping came from Buy Whole Foods online, and it was all these spices in bags, and with scissors cutting them all up and everything. Because even although I had been vegan before, I wasn't a cook. I really, I would have said to you that I was healthy, but I never really, like, it was soups and pizzas and chocolate and what, vegan chocolate, whatever. But anyway, started cooking Ayurveda, and it was this one dish, and it was butter beans and vegetables and whatever. And I sat there to have the food. The tears just did not stop. The tears just looking at this food. I wasn't even able to eat it. And I came through onto the carpet here, curled up in the fetal position. I cried for about a couple of hours.
Yeah.
And then when I journaled about it, it was about, that's my granny used to make me that food when after my mum died. My mum died when I was 9. She actually committed suicide. And so it was a really, really traumatic time in my life. But that was the food that my granny used to cook. And oh my God, And I wrote to her and I was like, thank you for taking care of me. I know that you were, I know that this food was good for me to eat at that time, because as a wee girl, it was like, this food's disgusting, I can't eat this, and all of that. And Ayurveda is all about eating the food that is your food. Like, so the food that your grannies and your generations before you cooked, that's the kind of food that you should be eating, right? And the climate that you're in, if you change climate, whatever. And it was such a healing thing. Very unexpected it happened to me. And I cried so much doing that Ayurveda program, because when you take away the sugar, take away the distractions, the sugar, the wheat, the snack, and you're just eating 3 really beautiful meals a day that are organic and fresh, then you kind of run away from yourself. Just like when you said, when you stop drinking, you just kind of run away from yourself. You just got to sit there and deal with it, and have the courage to just allow yourself to cry, and know that you're not going to, like your white wave, you're not going to get taken into the waves. You're not going to get taken into the waves. You're not going to go under those waves. You're going to come back up. But having the courage just to let all of that out is a huge thing, right?
Definitely. Yes, I don't think we give enough credit to how we nourish ourselves, like because it's so much easier to go to farm foods and buy stuff in the oven that'll be ready in 20 minutes, job done. That's it. We don't understand the negative impact that has on every system in your body.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a real gift of illness when you watch how the food changes your energy and your sleep, and all the change that you've made is what you're eating. And I remember a friend come to pick me up to take me to the hospital, and had been 10 days on the Ayurveda, and she was like, what have you been doing? What? And I said, I've just been back doing Ayurveda. She went, you look totally different. She said, you actually standing up, because I was like this, I was bent a lot of the time. I didn't have the energy to hold. She went, you're actually standing up. Your eyes are shining. And I was like, I'm doing organic. And of course, I've got a partner who is like, it rains. So how can things be organic? Because the rain falls and everything. It's just overpriced. Lochinvar's my favourite shop. And I'm like, no, I know the difference it made to my body. When my body really needed like gifts for the gods, it was organic food that did it. And I know it's priced there, but here's the thing. I buy Whole Foods online for my staples, and then it costs us maybe £10 a week for fresh veg. And you're not in the supermarket buying all that processed stuff, which costs a fortune. I really noticed the amount of money that I saved actually when I started going right back to Ayurveda. Yeah.
I think the convenience people are paying, they think they're paying cheaply for the highly processed, ultra processed foods for the convenience of it. But what you don't realise is the inconvenience of the damage to your health, the inconvenience to the lack of energy that you've got, the inconvenience to the health conditions and diseases that are going to come up in the future. And so many people don't even know how to cook a meal. That they're like, if you gave them a bag of carrots and potatoes, they would be like, I don't know what to do with this.
I know. Get an Instapot. I'm not affiliated to Instapots, but get an Instapot and a rice cooker, and it's done in 9 minutes. You're not even slaving off a stove, because that's not going to work for me. And I mean, it is really, really surprising to think that it wasn't until commercials in the 1950s, 60s, and then of course mostly in like the 70s that we started buying food in boxes, because it's because of the commercials on the TV. We've all been hoodwinked. People stop cooking, when actually cooking's the most beautiful thing we can do for ourselves, because it's a process, isn't it? In the ashram, we used to cook, and we would have to, we chanted while we cooked. Quite often there would be tears rolling down my face, the colours, the colours of the food, the shapes of the food when you were cutting it, just looking round, and that everybody's so present with the food, and just, and the whole adage is that, with the whole energy thing, is like, actually it is the way that the food has been cooked that is the most important thing. You can go to a really, really fancy restaurant, 5 stars, and have a meal. If that chef's been in a really angry mood and there's a lot of, shit going on in that kitchen, you're not going to get the goodness from that food, that it's there if you're really present with it. And yeah, it's a huge topic. It's probably another topic, but it's a huge topic. It really is, yeah. And don't get me wrong, I still have I occasionally, I'll have pizza, and occasionally, I'll have sugar and whatever, but the illness, I can't do it. But it's a wee non-treat. It's a non-treat, and then I'm back to Ayurveda. That's for me just now, right?
Yeah, it's doing what's right. 'Cause at the moment, I'm really into fermented foods.
Oh
I
yeah.
fermented foods just now, and I'm like, what can I have with my plate of fermented veg, like veg? And it's like, I'll maybe bake a potato to go with this.
Yeah. So
With all this fermented veg, because it's just, for me, it's like, what can I do to repopulate? So when I was in hospital last year, I was put on IV antibiotics and then given really strong antibiotics when I was coming out, and I'm like, this is damaging, this is causing more damage, and it caused inflammation in my bowel, and I'm like, kidding you on, please, please no. So then I did take some probiotics, but in my research, and my friend Janice, she teaches and chants about the fermented foods and about how they
yes,
are. So I just then
yes.
started, and now I'm like making loads of fermented veggies,
Oh,
and
lovely, nice process, right?
so inexpensive to do.
Yeah,
Buy a bag of carrots and you shave them up, add some herbs and spices in them, leave them to sit for a week. Get a cabbage, shave that up, add it, maybe shave an apple or a pear or whatever flavours you want to put in it, leave that to sit, and
nice.
got tons of foods
Nice,
from.
nice. Must try. I must go and you got some ideas in your Facebook group for that. Must go in and have a wee try. It's not something I've done, fermented foods at all.
Yeah, it's really
Mm,
once you've got it, it's dead easy. And then
mm,
once you taste it, you're like, that's amazing. So there's always a jar brewing, because some of them take 2 or 3 weeks, some of them only take 1 week. So
mm.
Chris opens the fridge and he's like, this fridge is like my granny's fridge, because it just full of all the
I love that. That's like when you open my cupboards, I just love it. All the jars with all the pulses and the lentils and the beans and that. I just love it. It's
Yeah.
just it's a healing cupboard, Love it. It's really nice. Yeah.
Because you're talking about Ayurveda, I'm like, oh, I'm going to make myself a dal khichdi.
Oh, the best, the
Oh,
best, the best.
I just put it in the slow cooker, so I'll maybe soak
Yes,
the mung dal. So the mung dal you don't need to soak, but I still just soak
that's
them in.
right. Yes, yes.
So I'll
Well,
soak
they
them in.
always say that if you can soak it, it's best if you soak it, even if it doesn't need soak, because then there's more liquid, in it. So I would agree with soaking it. But it's the best, isn't it? I mean, the thing is as well, like people think, oh, rice and dal and whatever, eating rice every single day. I went from because I could hardly move, right? I was 11 stone 13 or something, because I could hardly move and I had all the GI issues and whatever. And when I studied in the Ayurveda, I got down to 9 stone 2, and I was eating rice and lentils and veg 3 times a day, you know? And then people go, whoa, rice is dead, it's all carbs and whatever, but Ayurveda doesn't look at it that way, right?
Yeah,
So,
they don't in calories or carbs, protein,
no,
fats.
it's just the way the foods go with one another.
But then I was listening to something recently that said that they only started talking about calories, I think about 80 to 100 years ago, and
Right?
the people that started talking about calories were struggling with their weight themselves, and the scientists had worked out how to find a way of, when you burn food, how much boiled water did you get from it or something like that, and that's how they worked out calories. So it's completely fabricated.
Yes,
Yes, because nobody's burning food these days to see how long it takes to boil a pot of water.
yes, yeah, yeah.
So
And
it's like,
we're all different, right? We're all so different. Our bodies are different. We live in different climates. There's different food available to us. So, Ayurveda is like a 5,000-year-old system. Like it's science system about like, well, do what's right for you and your body. We've all got either Vata, your Pitta, your Kapha, you know. So it's not that what, and the calories kind of way to go is like one size fits all. You know, somebody can eat 5 cheeseburgers a day and not lose and not put on a pound of weight. Other people can, you know. So there's something in that. There's something in that. Yeah.
My dad was asking the other day, my dad's like that, Jen, why is it that all men can eat 2,500 calories? And I'm like, oh, I'm trying to explain to him, and he just doesn't believe me, but he'll believe the person that told him that he should be eating 2,500 calories. And I'm like,
You know, Paolo always says that to me. Why is it you need to employ somebody? Why could you not just listen to me? You need to pay somebody. You have to go and do another course. I told you that. But because you paid the money on that course, you believe that person. I am, you know, I'm succumbed to that, definitely.
so what do you have going on just now in terms of stuff?
Okay, yeah, brilliant, brilliant. Oh, thanks so much for asking. So I've got a wee, which is a really nice kind of original, very different, meaningful Christmas present. So if you have somebody in your life, well, anybody who's listening to your podcast, Jen, I'm sure themselves or they have loved ones who would like to, in January, which is, you know, a really tough time for everybody. I used to go away to India. I used to go away to India every December and January for 5-6 weeks. I was really kind to myself back then. You know, I would go away and just be in the ashram, travel around India and stuff. So it's a really tricky time for people, and so that's what the gift voucher is. It's a lovely workshop which is going to be on the 15th of January, no, Saturday the 19th of January, and it's going to be online because I've got a big global community. And it's going to be looking at a self-love project that we would like to be supported in for the next 2 weeks after that. And all in my creative coaching programs, I didn't even know it was a thing. Somebody told me there was actually a name for it when you have like WhatsApp kind of group along with your program. But I've always done that because I've always felt it was too much time to go from one week to the next week. You know, the people that I'm serving needed much more interaction than that, and lots of good ideas come up, you know, from one workshop to the next. So there's going to be 2 weeks kind of tribal support for your self-love project that you decide on what it is, because January is the time we all make these ridiculous resolutions that we never keep. Whereas this workshop, and I can't even remember what I've called it. Wait to see what I've called it. I think it's something like open hearts or what did I call it? I was coming up with 3 or 4 different wee names, and then I decided on this one. There it is there. So yeah, fresh starts and joyful hearts. That's what I've called it. Fresh starts and joyful hearts. So it's going to be a New Year workshop. And, you know, the usual Joyworks methods, which is laughter therapy, laughter yoga, meditation, fun games, creativity, visualization, coaching, so much more. That's going to be the 90-minute workshop, and then the 2 weeks after that. And because it's Black Friday, I'm giving lots of Thanksgiving treats at the moment. So there's only 10 tickets at £25, and I've sold 4 tickets. So there's 6 tickets left at £25, and then it'll go up to 40. So that's going to be a really beautiful wee self-love passion project. And I know Paolo, my man, is going back to the States in January. So I'll be like all in there, heart and soul, with that project. And then I train, Joyworks is the leading trainers in laughter yoga. So over the last 13 years, I've trained over 195 laughter yoga leaders who are in their communities and their businesses, or have even started up, you know, laughter businesses. So I've trained 195 of them, and the new program is ongoing. So anybody can sign up for it just now. It's like a rolling program. All the resources are there online. And what's really different about my trainings is that it's personalised coaching. So while you're going through the program, you've got direct WhatsApp voice access to me. And I think that's why, since I've done this 2 years ago when I was ill, I thought I still want to do it, but how am I going to be able to do it managing my health? And I got my life's kind of work up there online, and since then I've really noticed like the amount of people that, you know, that were in the cohorts that you know, that are delivering them in spas, delivering laughter yoga and retreats, delivering them in gyms, delivering them at conferences. And I think it's because you're able to revisit these resources all of the time. And so the type of people that come and do these trainings is if you're needing a happiness boost yourself, if you're looking for a good personal development, and many people come to this, they think they're going to train in laughter yoga, but actually they don't. It's just been a really good life-changing personal development tool for them, right? And they've been filling their own joy cup up, you know. And then the face-to-face is in February. So because it's Thanksgiving, I'm offering another free coaching call on that at the end. So once you've delivered your event, your first laughter yoga event, there's a call with me, a 90-minute call with me to debrief. You can choose to have it before or after you do your first event, but there's going to be an extra one of that. And there's lots of, like, as I told you, I had 30 years experience working in theatre and education, and so I've chosen the games. I've curated amazing games that are there online as well that you can use with your laughter yoga. But a lot of therapists, a lot of coaches, a lot of healers, Reiki teachers, managers, you know, come along and do that program. So that's an offer. And then I've got the Joyworks for Self-Compassion creative coaching program that myself and an opera singer. So it's all about releasing our voices. And it's just such a beautiful experience. So that's like for 5 weeks, and that's happening in April. So there's an early bird with that as well. So if you want, I'll share the links to the,
because this will go out probably after these are, like, this podcast will go out after probably some of these deals have expired. But what I'll do is I'll go on and post that we had this conversation today, and then I'll share the links today for your offerings.
Yeah, and you know what, Jen, is a wee special like thing because you've been on the pod, they've listened on the podcast. I would uphold the laughter yoga and the laughter yoga extra coaching call and I'll uphold that one. I wouldn't be able to uphold the other one. Yeah, because there's only like 20 places on that one.
I'll put all the links into the description of this so that people can just click on it.
Yeah, do you want me just to repeat them again in a wee bit shorter way without the November offers, if it's going to be after November?
Go for it.
Right, thanks, Jen. Might as well, right? Might as well.
Quite right.
So if people are looking for a wee gift, a nice, meaningful, kind of unusual, different gift, then we've got the New Year workshop, which is an online workshop, and it's called what did I call it? I think I might have to change the name if I can't remember it. Who else is going to remember it? It's called Fresh Start and Joyful Hearts, and it's a New Year workshop. The time in January when we're all you know, the fun has passed and we're all trying to keep our resolutions up and we're, you know, it's dark, then that's the time we're having this lovely New Year workshop, and it's going to be the usual Joyworks method with laughter therapy, laughter yoga, meditation, creativity, fun and games, visualization, coaching, and then there's a 2-week tribe support on your own self-love passion project. And so that's on the 13th of January. So it would make a really nice gift for people, or you might want to do it yourself. And then we've got a laughter yoga leadership training. And I've delivered this training for 13 years, trained over 195 laughter yoga leaders who are out in their businesses and their communities, sharing joy and laughter. Many people come to do it for personal development reasons, and many people say it's life-changing. So you can come and join that anytime. That's a rolling program. It's online. And the special thing about it is this personalised coaching from me and lots of bonuses as well. You can check on the website, and the face-to-face is in Glasgow on the 13th. But you can choose to just do it online if you want. I mean, we trained the first ever laughter yoga in Botswana trained with me, so there wasn't a laughter yoga, there wasn't anybody doing laughter therapy in Botswana, and she came and did the online program. And so that's the amazing thing about doing things online, isn't it? And then our Joyworks for Self-Compassion, which is a creative coaching program. It starts in April, and that's with an opera singer online to unleash your voices and our creativity through fun and song. And then, of course, my businesses that don't tell anybody. I spend 2 days on the couch after I do it. But I still love doing it, and it's maybe ego. That's
Find all that information. Is that all
oh
on?
yeah. That's www.joyworks.co.uk, and that's the website there. And I've got an amazing Joy Academy Facebook group where I do a wee joy spot every Monday. And that Facebook group's been going 13 years. It's a beautiful, gorgeous community. I love it. It is the reason I get up in the morning. It's just an amazing wee group. So feel free to join that. And I saw that somebody was going to do a personal development reading group. And I thought, oh, that's what we're going to be doing, a spiritual reading group in the Joy Academy, a spiritual book club there as well. So there's a Joy Academy, and of course Joyworks, the Facebook page, and an Instagram. I'm in Joyworks Laugh. I'm not really a Instagram chick, but mostly because of the age I'm on Facebook mostly. So so they say. So yeah, you can get me there. Yeah.
So I'll put, if you send me over all those links, I'll put them into the.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Jen. That's been a blast.
Anything else that you want to talk about before I let you go?
No, just like we all have the opportunity to choose joy, and it's only us that know when we need to sit with the pain and cry and change it. It's only us that know when to move up the joy scale. You know, we have the choice at any time during the day. We have the choice to move up the joy scale, and it's only our choice, because only we know what is right for us. We're the only ones that know what's right for us. We can be guided. But so that's what Joyworks is about. Joyworks is about we know we can choose joy. We know that we can move up the scale, but we have to start with where we are. We are where we are, and that's okay. And we have to make it okay that we are where we are, you know, however hard that is. Moment to moment practice, accepting where we are. Then we can move up the joy scale. And if you're looking for loads of nice ways to move up the joy scale, I'm your woman.
Absolutely.
Lovely.
Absolutely. So if anybody's listening to this and knows somebody who needs to bring more joy into their life, please share this podcast with them so that they can hear and be inspired by Sharon and her story and her joy, and they might be able to connect. And if you've got any questions or anything, if you can just message us on whatever platform that you're watching this on, and just share it with your audiences generally, so more people get to have joy in their lives. That's what I would think.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks so much, Jen. You summed it up better than myself. Thanks so much. Loads of love. Thanks a lot. Bye. Bye.